So we'll now begin what for me is one of the most significant passages in the Zohar Kadosh. It's taken from the very beginning of the Zohar, and this is the teaching about the divine name Elohim. That what the Zohar will teach here is that Elohim is composed of two words, or in fact two names. The Hebrew word Elohim breaks up into two words. One word is me, which means who, and the remaining letters are Ela, this or these, who and these. The name, and this reflects that in divinity, two levels. The level which is concrete, that could be defined, that could be pointed to, which is Ela, these. But above that, beyond that, is the place of the unanswered question, me meaning who. So the essential experience of the divine in the Zohar is the connection between these two levels. That which is beyond and that which is definable. If he only has what's defined, then we've limited the realm of the divine. There's nothing which is beyond. But if everything is unanswered questions, then we feel totally lost in a void. So it's linking the defined and the undefined together is the basic experience of the divine.
Also, being only beyond is also limiting.
Right, that's why I said being only beyond, so you fall into some sort of a tehom, in some sort of abyss. Okay, so we have, so we'll read the original Aramaic and the marvelous translation of Daniel Matt for the English translation. Bereshit. Okay, so this is on, you have the large word Bereshit, okay? Rabbi Elazar Patach. Rabbi Elazar opens with a verse in the book of Yeshayahu. Su'u marom enechem. Lift up your eyes to the heavens. Ur'u. And see. Mi bara ela. Who has created these? Okay, so we look up to the heaven and we ask a question. Who created these? The Zohar will continue. Not every aspect we will define, because there's some things need some more specialized knowledge of Kabbalah, and so that for the time being we'll skip. Su'umram lenechem la'anatar. Lift up your eyes. To what place? Latar, to the place, the kol einayim tlinle, to the place that all eyes are focused on. Umaniu petach einayim. The place that all the eyes are focused on is called petach einayim, opening of the eyes. Petach einayim appears in Tanakh as the meeting place with Yehuda and Tamar in that story, and this refers also to what's called the Sphira of the Malchut, which is the opening place, the first step in going up to the world of the Sphirot. But this is something we'll less discuss now. Utaman tindun, and there you will know. Dahai satim, that which is satim, inscrutable. See how he translates it? Concealed. Atika, the ancient, the kaima l'sheila, who is open for questions. Bara elu. He that is concealed but open to questions created these. Uman iu. Who created these? Me. Who? The answer to the question, who created these, is who. And here's the point of this passage in the Zohar, that who is not a question. When a question cannot be answered, the question becomes a statement in itself. A question, who, is normally a question, but who, which is reflective of the question that cannot be answered because beyond our ability to grasp, the question becomes a statement in itself. So who becomes the name of that level of divinity, that from which emerges the rest of divinity in the world. That primeval level of divinity is called, has a name, and that name is me. Who? There's a rock group, the Who. So I think this is clearly inspired by this passage of the Zohar, that the Who is not a question; it's the name of a rock group. There's also a famous Abbott and Costello routine, two famous comedians, probably before their time, not before our times.
Certainly before their time.
That there's a whole discussion about who's on first.
Yes.
And the joke is that the name of the player on first base is called Who, but the person doesn't understand, thinks it's being said as a question, who's on first, and there's quite a lot of confusion until you realize that Who is a name. So this passage teaches us there is a divine name which is Who, the question that cannot be answered.
It's like we're meeting with it like in Rabbi Nachman's Torah when we say Ayeh.
Ayeh,
Ayeh Makom Kvodo, it's the same question.
Right. So and then we see the contrast between the who and the these. If who is the open question, these is something which could be pointed to, something which is very, very defined. So from the who emerges, is created the these. From that which can't be grasped, evolve that which is defined. Okay, this is something we discussed extensively when we studied Sefer Yetzirah. This movement between the tohu, the chaos, and the bohu, or Sefer Rabbi says bohu, that which is concrete, or from the yesh, from the ayin, where yesh being, and the ayin doesn't mean nothing, but ayin we showed means nothingness. And in general, this is the very meaning of the word Zohar in the Zohar. Is the Zohar is called the Zohar because of the verse in the book of Daniel, "Vamaskilim yazhiru kezohar rekia." The enlightened will shine like the shine of the heavens, and the Zohar tries to explain what is this shine, what is this Zohar. So one analogy it gives is relating to language. You have words, and you have the tune. And the words are very concrete and defined. The tune is something, you can't grasp the tune. You can't see with your eyes the tune. It's something much less concrete, a tune. So, but the Zohar says that the words follow the tune like soldiers follow the king. And what's the Zohar? That's the tune. So you can say all the right words. Two people can say the same words, but there's a enormous difference whether one person has the tune, has the Zohar, and the other person doesn't. So the Zohar is that which is beyond, which is not defined. So here we have the me and the Eila, the undefined and that which could be defined. Okay, so let's read a bit more. Okay, so we said, Hahu deikri miktsei hashemayim le'ela. Me, who, that is called the edge of the heavens above. The kula kaima b'shutei, all is in its domain. The potential of all is included into that who. In some ways, this is similar to the concept of the Tao at the beginning of the Tao Te Ching, which begins, the Tao that can be told is not the Tao. That if you could define it, it's no longer that thing, but from within the Tao comes all that is. The same way here, from the who, all that is emerges from this from this level, which is where it's at, is something which is not defined. Valdekaima de Shela, however, we can ask questions. We're connected enough that we could ask questions. V'iu baruch satim v'lo et galia. We could ask questions, but on the other hand, it's concealed and we cannot reveal the answers. Ikri mi. It's called mi, who. The le'ela le'taman shela. Because above that, there isn't any place of questions. So we break up into three. Those things that could be defined, that's ela, these. Mi, the place of the question that could be raised but not answered. And then there's something which is beyond that which we can't even pose the question. And I could give an anecdote to reflect that. I remember that there was a period when I was learning in Yeshivat Har Etzion that Rav Shagar would come and give shiurim. And when I started at the beginning of the shiurim, I didn't understand. I understood so little, I couldn't even ask questions because I didn't have enough a grasp of what was going on to even raise a question. But after a few months, I made a lot of progress, and I was able to raise my hand, and I asked a question. And Rav Shagar looked at me and said a lot of words, and I didn't understand a word of what he answered to my question. But I realized I had made progress, because I realized that for those first few months, I wasn't connected enough to even pose a question. And fortunately, I never got to that state that I could ask the question and understand the answer, but it was clear I was able to really define the state I was, the state I achieved, and the state that I didn't achieve. If you want to look at, since we're talking about creation, if you want to look at cosmology, we could talk about the world after the Big Bang as something which is defined. We could talk about the Big Bang itself, that we have all sorts of questions about, but we might feel that the physics we have doesn't allow us to answer those questions. And then we have what was the universe before the Big Bang, and there we can't even really raise the question because it's so detached from the reality that we're in. Okay, so this is the basic structure from the undefined to the defined. Okay, so read a bit more. The Zohar asks, Ma ben hai lahai. So what's the difference between these levels? Elekadma'a stima. The early concealed dikri mi kaima l'shela stands to be questioned. Cave in the sha'al barnash. Okay, if it stands for a question, so let's ask. So we ask the question. Umefaspeis l'stakla. We go to look, ulaminda, to know, midarga ladarga, from level to level, ad sof kol dargin, until the end of all levels. Kev madamati tama. When we get to the end of this ladder that we're going through, ma, what? Ma yadata, ma stakalta, what do you know, what do you see? Ma pispashta, hakula satim kinem kamaita. You ask a question and you're always on the move with these questions, but ultimately you realize you don't know, you're equally ignorant. You don't know, just like you don't have an answer to the question, just like you didn't have an answer at the beginning. So of course this begs the question, so why ask, right? To ask a question that you don't get an answer, what's the point? But I think what the Zohar says that you do move, you go from level to level. Sometimes you ask a question, and asking the question develops you. You discover a lot by asking the question, and even though you realize at the end you haven't really answered the question, but it doesn't mean you haven't made any progress. You've maybe discovered a lot of things. If you ask the question, what's the meaning of life? I remember when I was a Rabbi at Oraita, there's one of the students went to all the Rabbeim and asked them to get short answers to the question, what's the meaning of life? So I answered in 3 words, asking the question. And so you're not going to get to an answer. It's not like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that you'll get the answer 42, but it's asking the question itself is something that makes you look at life differently. You grow, you develop, and it could be that after 100 years you'll still realize you haven't really answered the question. So there are questions that can't be answered, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't ask them. Within Zen, there are 2 traditions. One focuses on meditation, but another focuses on finding a question that you deal with, even though there's no answer to the question. I believe it's called the Kuan. And the questions are designed, by asking them, you open up your consciousness, but you don't actually answer the question. So asking the question is a significant process to discover. I once saw a book about parenting, and the book said that if your children ask you a question, you get a point. But if you answer it, you lose a point. So I wanted to get a lot of points. So one of my sons, he asked me a lot of questions, and I kept saying, I bless you that one day you should get an answer. But one day he says, Abba, I'm fed up. You never know answers to any of my questions. I'm going to go ask Rabbi. And we actually have a picture of him looking up, Rabbi looking down, and one after another asking all his questions and getting answers right away. So I think, so I hope I still have my points, but I'm not sure exactly how that ends. But anyway, asking questions is a powerful way for growth, even if you don't get the answers to those questions. Okay, so I think we'll do one more passage within this Zohar. We'll skip down a little bit, and let's go down to 3 lines from the bottom. And he's asking now, what are the Elah? What are the these? Elirazada, this mystery, Lord Galia, was not revealed. This is Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, talking to his son, Rabbi Eliezer. This mystery wasn't revealed to me, Bar Yom Achad, other than one day, Davina al Kif Yama, I was on the seashore, Va'ate Elio, and suddenly Elio Navi shows up. Right? I wonder what beach that was. Vamarli, Rebbe, Yadata Mao Mi Bara'elo, Rabbi, do you know what do these words mean? Who created these? Aminale, so Rashbi gives an answer. Elin Shmaya v'chlenun, these are the heavens and their host. Uvda dekud shebrichu, the creations of God. The itlele barnash, that we should look at them, ulavarchele, and bless them. Dichtiv ki yeresh shemecha maser tzvotecha, I see the heavens, the handiwork of your fingers. Hashem Adonenu ma'adir shemcha b'kol haaretz. Okay, so Rashbi gives a standard answer. Look in the heavens and see these. We're talking about the stars, the creations of God. Armalei, but Eliyahu Navi answers, Mi lastima have kame kutshibrichu. This is a concealed word in front of God. V'gali memitifta ilah, and it's been revealed in the heavenly academy. V'dahu. And now I will tell you what this means. B'shat l'stima l'kol stimim, in the hour that the concealed, of all concealment, Ba'alit Galia wanted to reveal the moment of creation of Avid Beresha Nukuda Chada. At first there was one point. The Zohar talks about the world being created from a center, a single point. And again, there's a Daniel Matt who's translated the entire Zohar as a book called God and the Big Bang, talk about the interplay between modern cosmology and different views of creation within the Zohar. And it went up to be thought, Sir be kol tsirim, chakak be kol glifim, va'aglef go butzina kadisha. So we carved out ultimately a holy spark. Galifu the Chad Sir Stima, Kodesh Kodeshim, the Holy of Holiest, Binyana Amika, a deep building, the Nafik Migo Machshava, that went out of this original thought, V'ikri mi, Sheruta le Binyana, the beginning of the building, Kaima v'lo Kaima, existing and not existing. So, even if we don't follow all the words, the general movement is the divinity as being concealed, creating a initial point. That point is called thought, and from that point, there is a development which, from that pure thought, which becomes me, which becomes who. Amik v'satim, deep and concealed, b'shama lo ikri, is not yet reached a place that there is name. Name is definition. Definition is too finite. Having a name is something which is limiting. We're talking now about initial stages of creation that precedes any name, and therefore all there is now is lo ikri elami. There is only me. There is only who, the unanswered question. Bailit galie. God wants to be revealed, ulitkari v'shema, and to be called by name. Vitlabesh b'levush yakar, became dressed in a precious garment, the nahir of light, ubara ela, and created these. V'salek ela b'shma, and ela connected to the name. One more line. Itchabrim atvin elin be'elin. These words are connected, letters connected, Vishtalem B'Shema Elohim, and the name Elohim is formed. This all goes back to tell us the story the Torah begins with, Bereshit bara Elohim. In the beginning was created the name Elohim. And here the Zohar tells us how Elohim was formed. From that place of that initial, from the concealment to the initial point, from the initial point, me, who is created, me wants to be revealed, so me creates Ela, these, and me and Ela together becomes Elohim, the name of God. Shimshon.
How does the definition we just gave in the creation of me Ela translate into like Elohim as like the name of Din for Hashem?
Okay, that's it. In some ways, Din is often seen as connected to limitations, and here we see the name Elohim is very reflective of something of a limitation, something which is undefined, without boundaries, takes upon name, definition. And in that way, it's connected to what you said, the world of Din, which is more about constriction and limitations.
How is this parallel to what we talked about in Sefer Yetzirah of creating numbers and counting? So maybe the aim and not being able to ask any question is Masha Me'ad Echad, which we spoke about.
Right. So there's a wonderful line in Sefer Yetzirah talks about the movement, the world which has multiplicity. The Sfirot comes to the word mispar, numbers, and reflects the multiplicity in the world. And Sefer Yetzirah says, so the beginning is not one. The beginning is, in that wonderful phrase in Sefer Yetzirah, Lifnei echad ma tasofer. what you count before the number one. So realizing one itself is a number, and before multiplicity is before their numbers. So you wouldn't say one, you would say before one, what do you count? So it's the same type of movement. Now, the Zohar later connects us to the story of the Chet HaEgel, that of building the golden calf, and it gives us tremendous insight about what idolatry is all about. The Zohar continues. V'inun dachavu ba'agla. Those who sinned with the Chet of the Egel, al Raza Dana, on this mystery sinned. Amru, when they presented the golden calf, the way it was presented was Eila Elohecha Yisrael. These are your God. And the Zohar's interpretation is the name of God, Elohim, is two words. It's me and Eila, the defined and the undefined. The essence of idolatry is everything should be defined. So what was the Chet HaEgel about? It was difficult to accept a God which is beyond our ability to grasp, to see. So they created a golden calf because they wanted a God that's fully defined, fully visible. So in the context of this passage, it means that instead of Elohim, they are only Eila. They took the me out of Eila. They took the question, they took the mystery, they took the beyond out of God and left only that outer covering of the these. V'kama dishtatif mi be'ela hachi hu shama dishtaf tadir. And you have to link the me to Eila. As once one of my students pointed out, the call to oppose those who sin with the Chet HaEgel was Mi Lashem Alai. We have to take the me, the who, and connect it back to the name of God. Ubaraza da itkaim alma. This is the mystery that the world stands on. That the world stands on the recognition that beyond the revealed aspect of reality, there is that the undefined, that the Zohar, or as in the Little Prince, that which is essential is hidden from the eye. Or in the Zohar, in Idra Rabbah writes, Ha'olam kayam al sod. The world stands on sod, meaning the mystery, that which is undefinable. Okay? And uparach Elio, then Elio Navi disappears. V'lo chamin alei, I don't see him. Uminei adana mila, and from him I have discovered this. Dukim nal raza v'satu delay. Okay, so this is Rashbi finishes talking. Ater Elazar v'kulo chavraya. Rabbi Eliezer and all the chevra come. Vishtachul kamei. They're so overwhelmed that they throw themselves on the floor. Bachu, they weep. Vamru, ilmalei lo atina l'alma. Had we not come to the world, ela lemishna da dai. Had we only come to the world to hear this insight about the name of God, about the nature of the world and the connection to divinity, this would be enough. Wow. Sof davar, hakol nishma, et Elohim yira, ve'et mitzvotav shmor, ki ze kol ha'adam.